Imagine it is April 25th, 8 p.m. Chicago Bears are on the clock. They go Caleb Williams. Next up, Washington Commanders go Jaden Daniels. That leads the number 3 pick being Drake May to the Patriots. The Vikings finally make their trade up to number 4 with the Arizona Cardinals to get their boy J.J. McCarthy. Now, the Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock, and seeing the great opportunity in front of them, they decide to trade down, and they're looking for a partner. Now, Mr. Irsay sees this as an opportunity to bring home a legend's son. Bring home a Hall of Fame wide receiver's son. Bring home the best prospect in the NFL draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. The Colts put together a package, maybe the number 15 pick, maybe Alec Pierce in the mix, and if we're getting crazy, maybe we throw in another very solid player to make this decision easier for the Chargers. And we offer up a very solid, very good player in Braden Smith. The Colts go out on a limb and trade very good players and prime draft capital to get the number 5 pick and bring home Marvin Harrison Jr. We dust off our Marvin Harrison jerseys and we get to add a little junior next to it. And to me, that is the dream scenario of this draft. The scenario I just laid out there, not going to happen. I'm sorry. I dream about it every single night. I wish it could happen. It would be a very specific set of circumstances for that to happen. And even the price of, Alec Pierce and Braden Smith and our first round pick, I don't know if that's enough or if it's too much. Just a very fun scenario that I've been dreaming up in my head. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about a few different scenarios that the Colts can have in this upcoming draft. And I'm going to be doing another quick Colts mock draft where we're only going to be using the Colts in the PFF mock draft simulator. And we're just going to be talking about what the Colts should do. Should they go wide receiver? Should they go cornerback? Should they go at an edge if there's one available? So we're going to be talking about that. It's going to be a rather quicker video, but I think it's a good topic of discussion where we're kind of waiting for more dominoes to fall in this offseason. So I brought up the NFL big board here on PFF. So let me kind of just move this over. And we can kind of look at different players and talk about it. But there is a lot of talk right now with the Colts potentially trading up for Brock Bowers or, who knows, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, who knows. A lot of you that have followed the Colts over the course of Chris Ballard's tenure, you're not expecting a trade up this draft cycle. And I'm right there with you. I'm not expecting it either. Though, this could be the year to do it because the Colts are at the middle of the draft at 15. And, gosh, I just noticed the view is thick here on PFF. I haven't seen that before. But, sorry. We're at 15, but with potentially 5 to 6 quarterbacks going in the first 15 picks, that means that we're going to get a top 10 non-quarterback player where we're at right now. And if we trade up, we can get a top 5 non-quarterback player if, we land at, say, number 5, which I doubt. But if we go up to where the Chicago Bears have their second pick, go up to 9, or, the Falcons, we can list a few teams that might be looking to trade down. And that would be the time where Ballard would buck the trend, is when the value and the opportunity meet together. I personally think that there's, enough players at the lower end of the first round that if the Colts want to trade back, that might even be the better scenario for the Colts. But let's talk about, what do the Colts need? Um, if you paid attention this offseason, the Colts have done a great job of bringing almost everyone back from free agency that they had they had unrestricted free agents. So I think there's like 8 or 9, but the Colts have put all their money into players inside their locker room, except for adding Joe Flacco and adding Raekwon Davis from the Dolphins. And there might be a few other players to kind of fill out the roster that we've added, but for the most part, depth chart wise, the Colts have only added 2 outside players, but mainly kept back their own. So there's not really a huge need for the Colts. There's just things that we can focus on and prioritize this draft, and what I expect Chris Ballard to do. Chris Ballard, for me, I feel like I understand his mentality most of the time, and he is not predictable, but he has some tendencies that I think you can, glean off some information from. So, the biggest thing that I think most people don't realize is Chris Ballard really, really, really wants to have that primary edge rusher. Kwity Paye is great. Samson Ebukam is great. But there is an opportunity to upgrade that position at pick 15 with Latu, with Jared Verse, and with I'm blanking on his name. I'm just gonna look it up because I know his name. But I'm blanking on it hardcore. Dallas Turner, that's right. Any 3 of those edge players available at 15, I think is an absolute slam dunk to predict Ballard to go for. Wide receivers, I don't think he values highly in the first round. Cornerbacks are the same. As a scout, when he was coming up, he had been primarily with cornerbacks, and he has done a good job drafting cornerbacks and getting good production out of players like Isaiah Rodgers, Kenny Moore, Juju, Jalen Johnson's another player that had a lot of promise last year. And he's brought in players that have had 1 year hit offs that they weren't doing great before they came to the Colts. They had a great year. We moved on and got another player to fill his role. So I don't think he values DB in the first round. I mean, unless there's a Sauce Gardner, unless there's a can't miss prospect. But I feel like with what the Colts do, they're not over reliant on a number 1 corner, shut down, forget about it kind of guy. But I think Ballard definitely values the trenches in the first round, and he values he values trenches in the quarterback position essentially. The other options though, because obviously if those 3 edge rushers are gone, I can see Chris Ballard going with someone else. So who are those players? Obviously I think trade down would be a very optimal situation, but if there's anyone else that they could snag, potentially there are some cornerbacks that can be there. Quinyon Mitchell is the cornerback 1 in this situation with Terrion Arnold. And honestly, I think that's where, I think that those are the only first round cornerbacks potentially available for the Colts. I think anyone else, there's there's comparable skill levels in the second round, at least for what the Colts need. So I think the only ones that would go, if they do go, would be Terrion Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell. A lot of these players, obviously in the top 10, if they fall, they would be on the Colts board, but I'm not going to expect them being there. However, if Brock Bowers is on the board, it does sound like he is someone that the Colts would swing after, and I mean, Brock Bowers has earned this top 10 player of the draft ranking. He's, he's still pretty young. He's got decent height, decent weight. He just had a 4.5 40. Obviously, he has great tape. He has good yak. He's got good hands. He knows where to be. He's a very solid tight end prospect. And pairing him up with Anthony Richardson would be awesome, because that fits in with Anthony Richardson's play style is getting the ball to the tight end, especially off the move, when your first reads are gone and stuff like that, you're scrambling. Brock Bowers and him would have a phenomenal connection. I'm not viewing defensive tackle as a first round need, but if for some reason these are guys that can replace what DeForest Buckner or Grover Stewart are doing, maybe. I just don't really see that being a focus. And then offensive line, I don't see a big need for it now. You mainly need a guard or a center, which are potentially available later in the draft, especially where you have your starters pretty much set for this year. But again, someone like Amarius Mims has a high ceiling. I could see somewhere where the Colts just want to, add him for the future. But let's talk about wide receivers real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap this up because that's kind of the last of this first round conversation. I started off this video talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. That's not going to happen. If it, for some reason, presents itself as an opportunity, I would 100% support it, but I'm expecting if there is a trade up, it would be for someone like Roma Dunze. I think would be the prime candidate there. I don't really love the idea of Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round. I think he has great skill sets, but I don't think he's different enough to be a plus, right away. But I also don't think he's someone that we're missing in our offense. I think he would be great to have, and I'm not trying to crap on this dude, but I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't excite me enough with the offense that we have to make it make sense for me. One player that I really really like is Adonai Mitchell. He does fit the RAS score qualifier that it seems like Chris Ballard has. I think he's top 10 in all wide receivers in his testing, and he's, I think, 6'2". So I would love AD Mitchell. I don't think the Colts are going to grab him because he does have some questions about run blocking and just his effort when the ball's not going his way. I'm not speaking towards that, but that's just kind of the rumors that I've heard. Other players that people really like, one, Ricky Pearsall. He has a connection with Anthony Richardson already. Great hands and great just all around play. He's just not pressing on that elite level like some of the higher wide receivers were going. Someone like Leggett would be fun. Xavier Worthy, I think, is just a nightmare to handle because he's more than just fast. I don't think he's first round, 15th overall pick, wide receiver. But if you get this dude, there's so much that you can do with him. And then really that's kind of all that I would think the Colts would want to add in the first couple rounds if those opportunities come up. But what I think that the Colts need to do is they need to start looking for players that, elevate the players, elevate the roster as far as, people that can start, but also players that fit value rather than need, because all the needs seem to be rather plugged up right now. So, there's not like last year where we were obviously needing a quarterback, where we're obviously needing a cornerback. Right now, we could use one. I do suspect that they will take one in the first 2 or 3 rounds, but it's not a first round need where we're going to be reaching for someone, in my opinion. So, just to kind of put a bow on the Colts, let's do just a quick mock draft just to kind of show you what the mock draft could look like. Sorry, let me get to the simulator. If the Colts don't go with the obvious need of a cornerback or a wide receiver in the first round, because I say obvious and I mean that more for what the typical rumors are um, in the off season. So let me try and um, kind of up this a little bit to make it work. But everyone I think is saying, let's put um, Cooper DeJean or Xavier Worthy at the 15th overall pick, and I just don't really feel like that's gonna be a phenomenal fit. So just looking here, Brock is gone, Rome is gone, Dallas Turner's gone. The top two cornerbacks that I was talking about are gone. So if this is the board, there's a real conversation between Latu and Verse. I'm gonna go with Latu, but I would love Verse being there too. I just think Latu's skill is a little bit more. So we went with edge just because of positional value. But let's see what cornerbacks and wide receivers we have here. The corners, there probably was a big run on them, yeah. So Kyrie Jackson would be interesting. Max Milton, Andrew Phillips. I feel like some of these players are a little bit low. I don't think the value meets the middle of the second round here. So let's go wide receivers. I don't think Worthy is going to be here. But if he is going to be here, I've heard a lot of rumors with the Colts being infatuated with him. So let's go Xavier Worthy for the Colts in round 2. This is where things get really interesting because there's a lot of players that I would love to put in here. Mason McCormick is one of them. Trey Benson's going to be a great running back. I doubt he's there in round 3. Malachi Corley, I could see him continuing to rise, so I don't think he's going to be there. Andrew Phillips is a good slot corner, but we don't need a slot. So a lot of this upper tier stuff is kind of feeling a little bit like these are just players that wouldn't really make an impact right away. So I'm gonna go down actually to our safety need and clear up I call him DDT, but Darian from Texas Tech, right? Let me just scroll up real quick. Yeah. So we got edge, wide receiver, safety. So really we can kind of just go and take the pick of the litter almost with this. Another player that I really like is Anaya Smith from Texas A&M. I think if we strike out on Worthy and we want a player like him, that would be a great option. Let's see here. Estimate would be interesting just to kind of add into that backfield with Taylor. Round 4 isn't really all that bad of a. Yeah, let's do Estimate, or let's see if there's any other running backs that we like more. Ooh, I do like Rendo. Estimate though, just size difference, and having him with Jonathan Taylor would be fun. And then Anthony Richardson too, just big dudes. I think that would be a fun backfield to watch. All right, here. Let's see. Wingo, I really like. Maybe we add a linebacker. The one that I always think is super interesting is Joe Milton, but I just don't think we're going to be doing that. Let's go. Let's add a little bit of a higher talent guy with Mekhi Wingo, LSU. Not necessarily a need, but a good player. 191. Jaheim Bell would be interesting, but we just have so many tight ends. Same with Rittman and Vidal. We've kind of already cleared up a lot of those players. So let's see if there's anyone here pops out. Frank Gore, that would be great for the legacy. Let's see here. I could see Bortolini. Sounds like a pasta to me. I like Bortolini though. I think Ballard will like him because of his RAS score. And then here, honestly, I'm just kind of guessing on these players. I'm not really too far in here. Let's add Gus Bradley's son, Carter Bradley, for the memes. But really, after round 5, I think it's a crapshoot of who's even there. I mean, Robin Wilson would be fun to have. I think Worthy has just a whole different skill set, so that's why I picked Worthy over Wilson. But this is, I think, the top 4 rounds. It could happen, but I think the best way to do the draft for the Colts is, sitting and taking someone like Latu would be phenomenal. Perhaps trading up for, blue chip talent if we can afford to do that. But cornerback, wide receiver, safety, they're going to be littered throughout the top 4 rounds of the draft. So I don't think it's super pressing for the Colts to go and stick their necks out and overdraft a certain position. Whereas they could stay getting a lot to getting a verse or potentially Dallas Turner. Even Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold are players that if we stick at 15, I would love to get. But there's a lot of players if we trade down and add even more draft capital, we can continue to build this team younger and add more players through the ranks. So that's what I think the Colts are going to do. I think most likely they trade down. I would say trade down is like, super likely. Thick and picking is like right there, just a little bit underneath it. And then all the way down here is Marvin Harrison's Jr.'s chance of being a Colt, which I just, I think it's fun. I think it's fun to talk about. It's just not going to happen. But if you stuck this far into this video, I do really appreciate it. We're a smaller YouTube channel, so any sort of interaction really helps us out. So if you could drop a like, comment, or subscribe, or all of them together, that would be really great. We always respond in the comments because we like having that discussion. So if you can do that, that would really help us out. But we'll see you on the next video.